Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Like, share, comment, subscribe, become a channel member where you'll get access to all archived videos, support black male media, support independent media. Super chats enabled. Super thanks for the replay gang. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Dr. Thunder, music, all one word. Spell out the word doctor. And if you'd like to feed me sandwiches, well, all methods apply. Sandwich gang in the building. Don't mess with my sandwich money. I am Dr. Thunder. This is Rolling Thunder, and I've got a provocative show as usual. Thank you for making this part of your regular routine. Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with an open panel on Fridays. Every other Friday. Open panel on every other Friday. And Dusty Docs on every other Friday. On the opposite Friday there. But thanks for being in the place to be. As you come in, please drop a comment in the chat and I'll shout you out, as is our usual protocol. And keep in mind, I do have a super chat goal in mind for these morning shows, so please like, share, and support the show. Like, share, and support the show. Today's show. Trump to pay reparations. Okay, so Willie D released a video yesterday, and this is what he's talking about. But what is he talking about when he says reparations? He's talking about reparation for black people. We'll find that out. We know that Trump is highly susceptible to flattery. So if you say that he's the greatest and you know, celebrate him in some kind of way, then if he sees you doing that, he'll probably give you some money. he'll probably set you up. Which, you know, frankly, hey, you know, if you have that sort of close proximity to the cat, you can, you know, that might be a beneficial kind of thing for you. I've not seen this tendency associated with populations of people, right? So on an individual basis, he you know, he may tighten you up. But if you're talking about a whole population of people, unless it's those white South Africans, you know, and now they're African Americans, you know. I don't know. I'm just saying. We look. It's a mixed bag. Let's put it that way. It's a mixed bag. So that'll be a sort of interesting topic. And Willie D is kind of talking about how he does have a tendency to, you know, he might straighten a few things out, but it's probably not going to be the things you want him to straighten out. So, anyhow, so that's our main event. Willie D. Shout out to Willie D. We're our second topic today, our secondary topic, is Mum's the Word on LGBTQ. Mum's the Word. Now, somebody posted in the Discord, Ask a Brother podcast. He put a video out yesterday, and this is something that he's talked about a couple times. I've seen him talk about this on various shows. You know, he's got his table shows, the ladies' table and the men's table. I think I've seen him talk about it on both of those both of those shows. And this is actually something that he's responding to, or he uses initially as sort of a centerpiece, a sort of conversation piece. That viral clip of this white dude twerking in front of kids at one of these pride events. And, you know, a lot of people on social media have, you know, are quite upset with this. But mum's the word, you know, amongst a certain type. Mum's the word amongst academics. Mum's the word amongst therapists, he's saying. And mum's the word doctors. You're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to critique anything that that community does, any agenda that comes out of that community. You're not allowed to. You can't touch the rainbow. You know, you can't touch the rainbow. And the issue that I have with that is, as a civil society, as a multicultural society, as a society that's based on the rule of law, that is based on consistency, that's based on, you know, many people sort of jockeying for position, you know, measuring freedoms and against disparities, and those that have been privileged versus those that are being oppressed. You have to be able to criticize policy, agendas, behaviors that are being championed, exhibited, celebrated, you know, that people are claiming to be proud of, that are in the public square. Stuff that's happening in the public square, stuff that is considered as central in the Overton window, stuff that you're supposed to, you know, be celebrating because, hey, this is the stuff that everybody says is cool. If you can't critique not just the stuff that's on the fringe, not just the stuff that's outside the Overton window, but the stuff that is maiden in, the stuff that is considered orthodox, right, for society, the stuff that is has been normalized. If you cannot critique that stuff, then how are we in a position to at any time ever critique anything that has ever happened in the past or anything that needs to change for the sake of meaningful change, right? Now, when people talk about change, hope and change, and they talk about progression, some stuff doesn't need to progress. Okay? Some stuff doesn't need to change. As the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because often is the case is that you can create more problems by changing things that you don't fully understand why they were that way in the first place. Right? If you I'm walking around and, oh, there's a gate right here. There's a fence. Let me just open the fence. Or let me just pull this fence up here. And then you find out that, oh, Cujo's back there. That's why that fence was there. And as Cujo's back there, and the fence and everything, and maybe you shouldn't have moved that fence. Maybe you should have left that fence alone. But the fence was obtrusive, or it was gaudy, or it was, not to my liking. I didn't like the material it was made out of. It didn't fit the which is it, the HOA? What is it? for that community. It didn't comply with the HOA. So we got to eliminate that fence. Right? So this is what we've done. We've eliminated we've changed social norms. We've eliminated a number of things. Demonized certain things, celebrated certain things. And I've said this before, but that I don't know if you know this, but June next month, which has been dubbed Pride Month, before it was Pride Month, and it still is this, it was Black American Music Month. June is intended to be Black American Music Month, but that was overtaken, right, by Pride Month. So let's check it out. Here we go. So June is recognized as African American Music Appreciation Month, also known as Black Music Month, originally established by President Jimmy Carter in 1979. It honors the vast cultural and historical contribution of Black musicians, producers, and songwriters to American and global music. But just as the Civil Rights Movement, in its initial focus on Black people, American descendants of slavery, and actually fixing things that the United States government put in place to oppress Black people, right? Instead of that, this movement, the Civil Rights Movement, has become completely and totally co-opted by other interests, right? And the primary interests, the ones that seem to be the most highlighted, is intersectionality or intersectional feminism. And that's where all the LGBTQ stuff comes in, right? And so it's an evaluation of how much you've been oppressed based on how many of these categories. Now, the problem with this intersectional structure is it defies reality. It is not the case that necessarily that combined categories creates more oppression, but what has been completely and totally, and based on the law, based on his historical legal precedent, is that being American descendants of slavery has been oppressive. Right? Being colored, being a Negro. That's been actually oppressive. Now, the trick that gets played against black people is though there clearly has been a white patriarchy, a dominant society patriarchy. That's clearly been a thing of the past. It's not so much anymore. But that in the past, that definitely was a thing. But there's never been a black patriarchy in the United States. There's never been a American descendants of slavery patriarchy. But somehow, because of intersectionality, black men, because we're men, we have some sort of privilege over black women. Right? No. None of the look. None of the numbers. None of the numbers follow this foolishness. But just as the civil rights movement was co-opted by the rainbow agendas, so has the month of June been co-opted. The African American Music Month, Black American Music Month, Black Music Month has been completely and totally co-opted by Pride Month. Now, one of the things that I have discussed. Now, look, I like, as a person, as an intellectual, as a presenter, as a diplomat, I am a fan of Barack Obama. But I didn't like most of his policies. And I think he did a lot of damage. And one of the ways that he damaged, I think, black people is by allowing Pride Month to be during what was supposed to be Black American Music Month. And it was well, it's saying here official recognition in the United States. It was first recognized federally by Bill Clinton in 1999, but it didn't become official until, hold up here. It did not become official until, let's see here. I want to give you the specific date. Here we go. Didn't become totally official until June 2011. And this was proclaimed by President Barack Obama, June 2011, as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month, a time to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists to celebrate the diversity of American people. The White House proclamation reads in part, or it read in part, the story of America's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community is the story of our fathers and sons, our mothers and daughters, and our friends and neighbors who continue to task the task of making our country a more perfect union. It is a story about the it is a story about the struggle to realize the great American promise that all people can live with dignity and fairness under the law. Each June, we commemorate the courageous individuals who have fought to achieve the promise for LGBT Americans, and we read it. What is this word? Rededicate. Rededicate. I'm sorry. I was like, what the heck is going on here? Rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of equal rights for all, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. So, a full co-opting of that month as the co-opting of the civil rights movement for, look, I have no, I don't have any issue with the LGBT community. I've got, friends, colleagues. I don't have any. There's no issue there. And students, frankly, right? I don't. That's not the issue. The issue is to promote an agenda that you're not allowed to question, even if that agenda has usurped or has taken the place of an agenda that was intended to address historical, legal, legal matter, legal issues, to address impropriety that Black people are still dealing with, that Black men in particular are still dealing with. But you're not allowed to critique LGBT agenda, right? Because they just call you homophobic or transphobic or whatever, even if you're just trying to address issues of your own community. That's problematic. And look, you want to talk about making space for everybody? I'm fine with making space for everybody. Everybody can have space. But if you can't defend or if you can't take scrutiny, I don't know how that's supposed to work. Because it's not even close. It's not even close. You want to talk about those that have been oppressed by this country, by the policies put forth in this country. It's not even close. It's not even close. No other community. It's not even close. Black people in general, Black men in particular. What it is that we've faced, that we continue to face. It's not even close. It's not even close. And that's a point of frustration for me, and I think a number of people have had enough of this. Look, we can have dialogue, we can have conversation, we can discuss as civil, we can discuss civilly. And unless you're going to offer me the same sort of privilege and safe space and protection and everything else that you're requiring that other people offer you, that's over. And it has to be over. It has to be over. I'm going to tell you, and I've said this frequently. See, the focus on LGBT is not because the government or society or the oligarchs that are pulling the levers. It's not because they, deeply respect and, they believe in equality for all people and, they, the humanity of all. And no. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's a population control game. It's an anti-natalist game. That is the stuff that they're thinking about. That's the stuff that they want. And they've been very effective at using these various agendas: feminism, intersectional feminism, the LGBT agenda. They've been very effective at using these things, and even stuff like abortion. Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenicist, a white supremacist, and was attempting to use abortion, reproductive rights, right? Was attempting to use abortion as a way to thin out the Black American population. This is all documented, right? So there's a reason that there has been a focus on this. There's a reason that there's been a focus on it, and it's not because of a deep admiration and respect, and in love of this community or anything like that. No, it's not that at all. Okay, and once more, I always ask the question: can a gay person be racist? Can a trans person be racist? Can a feminist be racist? And of course, the answer to all those questions is yes. And I think what this points to is that the primary category, the primary thing to be focused on, continues to be focused on, has been race all along. It's been race all along. I've been talking about this Keynesian purgation, and that's the elimination of all these jobs that Black women have been disproportionately represented in. Middle management, HR positions, DEI, a number of other kinds of positions, right? And then there's also simultaneously AI coming in and taking all the basically doing the work of all the middle management stuff and all the entry-level positions. But you have all of these, educated Black women that are now unemployed. Right? And unfortunately, it's because writ large, Black women bought the feminist lie. They bought the feminist lie, the lie that their womanness superseded, with respect to oppression, their Blackness. It's never been true. That has never been true. The Black thing has always been the primary method or the primary category for the purpose of marginalizing and oppressing. It always has been that. It's never been anything else. It's always been that. That's always been the primary thing. Now, race and class are highly correlated. Okay? They're highly correlated. Now, what some will try to say is, well, really, it's the poverty thing. And that's really what the issue is. Okay. And I might argue that today, right now, if you just took a snapshot that was just this year or just last year or something, then I might argue mostly that way. I might agree with most of your argument. But the question is how did it get this way? How did it get this way? We didn't just wake up and then it was just this way. What caused it to be this way? I've described feminism as being a proxy of white supremacy. And I know people don't like that. But it was a masterstroke to classify women as a minority. Because then you can take advantage of any structure that was intended to, address issues of minorities. Right? So this is how you can end up with 84% of the beneficiaries of affirmative action being white women. And this is how you can end up with 76% of DEI beneficiaries being white women. This is how you can do that, because look, disproportionately the LGBT community are dominant society people. So if you center that population, you're centering dominant society people, because again, it's the race has been the primary issue. All of this other stuff is a way to diffuse the efforts to rectifying and fixing that issue. And and they'll do everything but address the issue. Right? So, anyhow. We've got an Ask a Brother podcast video. We'll look at that for that sort of topic. I've got a video here where we're talking about the collapse of white supremacy, racial hierarchy, and black masculinity. And that's my racial hierarchy and black men segment. Dating is cooked. This has been a regular sort of topic that we've been discussing. There's a number of factors that are, that are being exploited to this end. Let's put it that way.
Preach, Doc, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji.
Thank you very much for that. But again, the population control stuff, the antinatalism, the social reconstruction, all of that, social reconstructionist, all of that, the Agenda 21, all the focus on, certain disproportionate focus on environmental issues over humanitarian issues. All of that stuff has been central to producing this totally bogus dating environment. Mucking around with gender roles, changing stuff without understanding or acknowledging that we are actually different. Men and women are different. Even it being considered some sort of form of hate speech or something because you say men and women are different, or that's a grounds for getting canceled and all this kind of stuff. Total hogwash. 61 people watching, only 35 likes. Please hit the like button. But we're going to start the show talking about, this is a really short video. We've got a mental health crisis, and this is a global mental health crisis. So we're gonna talk about that. So anyhow, let me shout some folks out, and then we'll get it moving. What's happening, John Smith, Eric Von Eric, YYJ, Hood Hobbies, Bootzilla, Zeb Z-Man, Q Vision, Patrick Saint. Let's see here, Truck Turner, Seth Son. Okay, Jamar Rowlett, Indigo Flow, R2K, Longo Savage, John Smith, Michael, Hashim Shabazz, Cardev, Matrix Media, Forever Blessed, Old Clip, J. Marr, Igbo Queno, Ray Hanma, James Smith, Bootzilla, and okay. Let's go ahead and run this again.
Warning. Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, let me get this happening. All right. So apparently we've got 1.2 billion people worldwide are struggling from mental disorder. Okay, so this is where we at. Let's check this out.
Well, this is something that we all should be very concerned about. Over 1 billion across the world are battling anxiety, depression, and other mental health conditions, often while trying to hold together their jobs, their families, and everyday lives. A major international study has now shed light on just how serious the situation has become. The study, published in the medical journal The Lancet, states that nearly 1.2 billion people worldwide were living with mental disorders in 2023. That marks a 95.5% increase since 1990. Researchers found the sharpest rise in anxiety and depression, which also emerged as the most common mental health conditions globally. Anxiety cases surged by 158%, while depression rose by 131% as compared to the 1990 levels. The study examined 12 mental disorders across 204 countries and territories. These included bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, anorexia, bulimia, dysthymia, conduct disorder, and developmental intellectual disability from unknown causes. Researchers warn that the world may now be entering an even more dangerous phase of worsening mental health conditions. The findings also showed clear differences based on age, gender, geography, and socioeconomic conditions. Most disorders were found to be more common among females. However, autism, ADHD, conduct disorders, personality disorders, and unexplained intellectual disability were more common among the males.
So interesting. So affecting us differently as populations, because again, men and women are different, so things affect us differently. But most of the highest rates of most mental health disorders were being experienced by women. And this is interesting because globally we have a birth rate decline. And there is a strong maternal instinct. There's a strong mothering, nesting sort of instinct that women have. And when you try to, replace that with other stuff, the other stuff is not adequate. It's not adequate. We're designed for a particular purpose. I talk about the natural order frequently. The natural order is not just about, it's not just about bending the knee. It's not just about even protection or producing children in the most safe environment for the kids, the environment where they have the most they have all the things that they need. It's not just about that. It's about what's good for every person along the line. What tends to lean into the natural tendencies that we have and produce the most satisfaction in life, the deepest sense of fulfillment, which, I did my doctorate, and when I did my doctorate, I was, tenured professor at a Big Ten, major university. Second year of my program, my degree program, I took over as the director of jazz studies at that institution. First year of the program, my son was born. Married. Not in addition to being full time at a Big Ten institution, I was also working 25 hours a week. 25 hours a week at a church. I'm a freelance musician, recording projects, lots of performing with national prominent artists regularly. My own my own quartet in different groups that I have, performing regularly. All of this stuff going on at the same time. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of extra driving because I was driving back and forth to this institution that I did the doctorate at. But the thing that made this even possible for me to do was because I realized that it was a temporary measure. There's that whole light at the end of the tunnel. So because I was able to focus on that light at the end of the tunnel, the struggle that I was enduring inside the tunnel, I recognized was just a temporary thing and was going to relent. Was going to eventually relent. Right? Now, I finished my doctorate in 2019. So this has been a while ago. But when I think back at the way that my schedule was, the fact that I was even home to be able to put my son to bed every night, even though my schedule was so ridiculous, that I was still working out regularly, I was still doing all of this stuff. It's amazing when you have a purpose, a clear purpose, you have clear goals, and you can see that your labor is not in vain. What it is that you can accomplish, what it is that you can do, how much you can actually endure in that temporary period. What we've done is we've eliminated the light at the end of the tunnel and just basically said, hey, just slog around in the dark. That's essentially what is going on, because the supposed rewards for not having a family, for instead of having a family, are for most people are totally unfulfilling. It's totally unfulfilling. It doesn't. And then you get up in age and then you start looking back like, man, I I did all this stuff in my life, but I don't have any people to share it with. I'm not talking about friends. Sure, you can have friends. But I mean, I don't have a next generation to share it with. I don't have people that are the heirs of my labor. I don't have that. And a lot of people get it just it's too much. And we're starting to see as this says, women show higher rates of most mental health disorders. And it really starts to manifest, you get about mid-30s. You get up there, maybe some up to maybe 40, and then all sorts of things start to manifest, and it's like, oh my goodness. I put all of these eggs in the wrong basket. Now look, I was watching something, and I'm going to show this. I put a bunch of stuff in the TikTok theater, some of which I thought I would play today. Let's see if I can find. Let's see here. No, not that one. This is another one of these. Those video goodness. I'll show that. I'll probably show that later. Okay, not that. Let's see if it's this one. No, not that one. Maybe it's this one. Nope, not that one. I'm sorry, folks. It could be this last one here. No, not that one. Okay. Just bear with me. Nope. Yeah, I got a lot of debaucherous stuff in here. Nope, not that one. She just caused an accident by flashing a fire truck. Let's see here. No, not that one. That's another one of the same stuff, man. Let's see here. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Goodness. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay. Anyhow, you know what? I'll leave these up here. Maybe I'll get to these later. But what I was saying, I saw this video, and this is it's a woman. She's obviously a feminist, and she's some sort of athlete, and somebody asked the question, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you can't, basically start a family, if you can't form a family, if you can't, X, Y, and Z, basically the traditional sort of method, the design method, the thing that we're designed to do, which is reproduce. We're mammals. What happens if you can't do that? Or if you decide not to do that? Or what's your plan B? And this woman, she just proceeds to show off basically all of her accolades, right? And it's this big pile of stuff, all this inanimate objects, big pile of stuff. It's a bunch of medals and stuff. It's a bunch of, plaques and, certificates and all of this kind of stuff, this big pile of stuff. And the thing is that she means it as like some sort of mic drop sort of moment. But when I saw that, it just made me sad. It's just sad. That's what you think this is supposed to be about? This is supposed to be about collecting a big pile of inanimate objects? I mean, she didn't highlight any friendships that she had or any community that she had developed, or I don't know, maybe she has all of this hardware. I'm assuming that there was some probably financial benefit from achieving all of these accomplishments. She didn't talk about how she, is developing her community, or maybe she gave, the big check to her church or something, or I doubt she goes to church, or anything like that. But it was this big pile of inanimate objects. And I'm like, it's great. Listen, it's great to accomplish things. It's great to have certain achievements and to motivate yourself to improve based on that. But if you think that that's what this thing is about, I don't. That's not. It ain't it. And I'll say this. For men, I think that can be more of a sustaining sort of motivation, more of a sustaining, and you can get more of a sense of a deeper level of satisfaction. But I think even with men, I'm talking about fulfillment, but even with men, I think you get to a certain point and you start to look back and count the cost, and you start to say, man. But for women, I think it's that times 10, times 100. And I think that's part of the reason why disproportionately these mental health disorders are spiking. Now, it's also issue with the way or the stuff that's in the food, with microplastics, with a number of other things also. So I'm not saying that this is just one thing. So I think that there's an environmental impact on this. But, if I put my Christian hat on, mankind was not designed for sin. Neither was creation. And at a cosmic level, this sin has impacted down to the molecule human beings and creation. So that is my assessment. You don't have to subscribe to that, and we could look at science, and we can go that method. But I'm just saying that's my explanation. That's what makes sense. Let's keep going.
Researchers say that mental disorders are increasingly becoming one of the leading causes of disability worldwide, especially among women and people between the ages of 15 and 39.
15 and 39. Now, this is really interesting. Okay? Now, mental disorders emerging. Okay? Mostly affecting women, 15 to 39. What does 15 to 39 sound like? What is that age range? What does that sound like? For a woman, what time period is that in their life? Anybody? What window of time is that? Let's keep going.
Researchers said such peaks in the 15 to 19 age group were traditionally seen in the middle age. The report also highlights the lasting mental health impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Anxiety levels spiked during the crisis, and they remained high throughout 2023.
And I think that's right. 100% reproductive window. What's happening in Diaspora L? Yep. Fertility, ages, reproduction. Yep. All of that. Reproductive window. You have all of this reproductive window denying, and you have people trying to divert their attention to other stuff, creating these distractions. But that stuff is inadequate. It can't even address. What's happening, Spirit of Justice? It can't even, what's happening, Gitmo? It can't serve the purpose that reproduction does. And it's not just about having kids. It's not just for the purpose of providing a safe environment for the kids. It's not just about keeping the species alive. It's about your own mental health, it turns out. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Now, look, I know that there are a lot of other factors, and there's environmental factors, but it just is interesting that the window is 15 to 39. Okay, that's all I'm saying. What's happening, Asho?
While depression rates increased and never really returned to the pre-pandemic levels. The research, remember, was based on data from the Global Burden of Diseases, Injuries and Risk Factors. This was a study led by the University of Washington. Experts say several factors are now driving the crisis, including economic stress, conflict, trauma, social isolation, discrimination, food insecurity, and the lack of affordable health care. They also stressed on the importance of our sleep, exercise, social connection, and work-life balance in protecting our mental health.
And notice that she doesn't say ever what I think the actual issue is, the primary issue is. I would say that primary issue is actually somewhat of a cause of most of those other things that were said. So it's interesting. Okay. That was an interesting segment. Let's get to this one. So dating is cooked, and this is of course related to the same issues. Here we go.
What's up, YouTube? This is going to be a quick video, man. I just ran an experiment. And this experiment really has me seeing why you have so many people online on all these different social media platforms complaining about the dating scene and how there's this lopsided thing going on when it comes to the genders. Because I've been kind of looking at a lot of this content lately.
What's happening, Duck Dissident?
Showing up in my feed about people talking about the dating scene and talking about dating apps and all of that type of stuff, right? And I've been really looking into that, and I've of course been known about the incel community and looking into that stuff and the forums they got. I've already looked into a lot of that, but just like really scanning over a lot of that stuff and the videos I've been watching recently, I've been seeing the complaint constantly of dudes talking about, they make a profile and they can't get any matches, barely any matches, and how it's basically so cooked for the average looking dude to get any matches at all. I mean, I've seen videos where dudes are saying they've gone an entire month without getting one match, or a dude made a profile and within a month he only got one match or something, one like. And I'm just sitting there like, yo, this is crazy, bro. This is actually insane. And you got dudes talking about how women, they make profiles and they're getting just tons of likes, just likes galore, bro. It's just insane. And I was really thinking like, should I? Because I was thinking like, okay, you guys are saying all this stuff, but I wanted some proof. Now, I don't have any female friends that are even on any of these apps, so it's not like I can ask them like, hey, can I see your dating app profile so I can see how many likes you're getting? None of them. I don't know any of my female friends or anything, any acquaintances or any of that are on these apps. They're not on them. So it's not like I can ask them like, let me see your profile so I can just see how many likes you got. So I decided to just take it upon myself, and I fired up a profile. I went ahead and downloaded Tinder, fired up a profile, and got some images. I'm not going to say how, very realistic looking images, especially with AI. You can make it look pretty much completely real. So I did what I had to do, right? And got some images that look real. You can't tell that they're fake. This is how good this AI stuff is now. So I got me a few images, about 4 good images. Went ahead, posted them on the profile, made me a little bio, all of that stuff, right? Because I wanted to run this experiment. I love to run experiments. I love to do all these different tests and stuff. I mean, that's why my channel name is Science Guy. I like experiments and shit like that. I mean, I wouldn't really consider this a science, to be honest. This wouldn't be in the category of, I don't know, a hard science, definitely not that, or a soft science, maybe, I don't know, but still, it's an experiment nonetheless. It's an experiment nonetheless. So I decided to do this experiment. I want to see for myself. I want to see for myself all of the likes that these women are getting. That dudes are saying they're getting, like the average man struggles to get likes on these apps apparently.
73 people watching, only 46 likes. Please hit that like button.
But then an average looking woman, and especially an above average looking woman, all that, it's just getting bombarded with likes. So I fired up a profile, and bruh, when I tell you, within 5 minutes, I had 47 likes. Now already, that's more than all of the other things. That's more likes than than all of the other people I'm seeing that are saying they cannot even get one like in a month and crap. I got 47 likes within 5 minutes. In under an hour, not an hour, in under an hour, I got like 99 plus likes. It shows like 99 plus on the likes widget for Tinder. So I don't even know exactly how many I have. It could be hundreds and hundreds. I don't know. It just says 99 plus. And I'm gonna keep this profile running for a while because I want to see if I can get to 1,000 or something before the day's over. Because this is crazy. I fire up a profile and in under an hour, I got 99 plus likes. And I got dudes, texting me, "Hey, beautiful," just thirsting, bro, just thirsty. Just they thirsting, bro, sending some, sending messages like that, "Hey, beautiful," and all this stuff, just thirsting. I'm like, bro, that kind of has me really seeing now how the dating scene is looking, bro. Because for you to be able to fire up a profile as a woman and within under an hour, you're getting hundreds of likes. I mean, my God. And that also really shows me how, or why I should say you have all these women running around with egos and stuff. Because you could just fire up a profile and just get hundreds of likes as a female that quick. You even as an average female, they can fire up a profile and just get hundreds of likes with the quickness. With the quickness, man. It really had me sitting back, and I'm still perplexed that I was able to acquire that many likes that quick. And the funny thing is, the photos are not even that extravagant. The bio is just a basic, sloppy bio. Still got hundreds of likes. And of course I know, let's be real, the main thing is looks when it comes to someone liking your profile, attraction, of course, right? But it still kind of has me perplexed, bro, because it doesn't matter, even if it's an average female, she's still getting hundreds of likes, still. But you contrast that with a lot of men, the average looking man is struggling to get likes. That to me is crazy. And it shows me why you have the dating scene looking like it is to a degree. And it shows me why you have all of these people scamming, you got so many people right now that are scamming using AI. I've been seeing so many stories of that where they're like making fake women and going on different platforms, masquerading as a female and getting money off of simps and gooners, as they like to call them, gooners. The guys who are, I guess a gooner is just someone who's extremely overly sexual, just on some weird stuff. I don't know, busting nuts on himself all day and night or some shit, crazy stuff like that. So you got all of these simps and gooners sending money to these fake women. And a lot of times it'll be some Nigerian or some East Indian scamming. These dudes be scamming heavy. And I'm looking at all of the matches I'm getting. And my phone was just, it was just like buzzing and stuff. I had to right now I had to put that shit in do not disturb, bro. And I'm like, damn, it's this easy to get all these likes. I could easily scam. Now I'm not about to scam, but it's like, I can definitely, I already know how I can facilitate some good, how I can facilitate some money coming my way, bro. Just by conversing in a way where I can get some money. But I'm not a scammer. I'm not on no Nigerian shit. These Nigerians, them East Indians and Nigerians who scamming, but I'm not on that. But it's wild to see. I just wanted to see what it was really like. And the likes are out of this world. 99 plus likes, hundreds and hundreds of likes in under an hour. Now, this may seem weird to some people, but I don't care, bro. I wanted to run the experiment, bro, because I just had to see. And hey, it turned out to be crazier than I actually first thought. So I'm going to keep the profile running for the rest of the day. I want to see if I get to 1,000. And then I'm going to do another experiment where I just pick like an average looking dude and then I post him on there just to see the results as well. Because then I just really want to contrast the shit, bro. It's crazy, bro. But that's really all I wanted to say in this video, man. I just really wanted to come here and talk about that experiment I just did.
Okay, so pretty straightforward thing. Yes, and it's stuff that other folks have done before. I'm looking at the time, and I'm going to I've got a couple videos that I'm going to add to the show today because I'm realizing this is going to go quite a bit faster. At least one of these videos. So this is Think Before You Sleep. And he's talking about how to fix society. So let's see what he's talking about.
All right, what's going on?
Oh, so they called the cops. They have the cops here now.
So what's the issue?
The issue is all I want is documents that happened today, so that way I can take it and I can get the work done that I need it done.
You heard what she said, right? You can get it later.
I told her I would mail them to her address because
They don't have an address on.
and I asked her to write it down.
All right, hang up the phone. This person's not a part of it. Okay. All right, so you're gonna have to leave the property now. If you come back here and cause more issues, we're gonna have a bigger issue, okay? They do not have the documents ready for you right now. And that's the end of it.
Okay, so we have a routine visit to the dentist office where the police had to be called because the suspect is probably the correct word, So the police were called because the suspect is mad that they wanted to mail her paperwork to her.
Because they don't have an address or
What's happening, D?
a place to send it to.
She does need to write
Can you give her one?
Why? They already told me I have to leave. I have to leave the premises right
You
now.
want, if you want them sent to you, then
Now, this is something, I think this is a video that I played. Yeah, 2040. Yeah, this is a video that I played. This police cam, whatever it is. Oh, goodness. What was I calling this? Becky cam or something? I can't remember what I was calling it. But this is something I played at least a year ago, we'll say.
and give them the address. It's very simple.
But you know, I didn't. This is a new video. He's using this to have a discussion with.
Yeah, this seems so easy. If you pay close attention, you can even hear that whoever's talking to her on the phone agrees with the police. Now, to clarify, I think initially the dentist wanted to mail the paperwork to her instead of giving it to her in person that day because she was being a pain in the ass and they didn't want her on the property longer than necessary, and they also didn't want her coming back to pick it up when they finished it.
Well, it's going to take me a minute to do it. And the way she was acting, I couldn't have her. If you guys are sitting here with her, I'll do it.
But I don't care.
When I can come back and pick up my documentation, I will come back.
She's going to print it up right now.
Okay, all right, just come outside.
No, I don't know.
We're going to wait outside and she's going to print it up while we're here.
I thought she just said that they could.
Yeah, go wait outside.
Just wait outside.
I will.
Go outside. Go wait outside and she'll print it for you.
Yes, Daddy.
Okay, now I'm engaged. So this is like a prostitute. Thanks, Boondocks. Many life lessons learned from that show.
You better make that deep boy work, bitch, and stop playing with me.
Yes, Daddy.
And now we know why the police had to get called over some medical documents at the dentist. But the reason I wanted to focus on this police encounter is because recently, the topic of culture has come up a lot in social media discussion. Many people have realized that the reason that us regular people have to live with all these restrictions and limitations is because of an actually quite small group of people who are screwing it up for everyone else. For example, this story has been going around on Twitter. Some doctors and engineers decided to go to the Ichikawa Zoo in Japan where that famous monkey punches. When they got there, they jumped into an enclosure to promote some stupid crypto coin. Because of those two guys, the zoo had to install a net to prevent that from happening again, and now we can't see monkeys at the zoo. Wait. No, I'm going to leave that in, it's fine. So when it comes to a person like this who can't handle a simple activity like waiting for some documents without causing a scene, know that these are the people that we have to focus on to fix a vast majority of society's problems.
Are you going to wait for the documents or not? Hello?
Oh my God. You all right?
No, I just want to leave and I can't leave.
Can you listen for 1 second? She said it was going to take a few minutes, but the way you were acting, they didn't want to do it while you were here. But now that we're here, they'll do it while we wait outside with you, okay? They don't, you know what? Do you have a job?
When we came back.
I'm just waiting for the paper that they said that they were just about to bring out.
Yeah, and then you left, so we thought you left.
No, I left to go for a walk so I can calm down.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember this. 83 people watching, only 56 likes. Please hit that like button.
I didn't leave, but you told me to come back in here when everything was done. So that's what I was doing.
I just told you to wait outside, then you...
That's what I was doing outside. I was waiting
Okay, all right, can you just sit down and we'll get your documents here in a minute.
I'll go for another walk again and wait.
Okay, no, don't go for a walk, just stay here. I don't need you walking around everywhere. I need to find where you're at so we can just give you the documents. I'm sure it'll be just another minute.
Come back when the documents are done and I can go for a walk until then. I don't understand why it's a problem for me to just step outside and go for a walk.
I already have a headache. They asked her to leave and she wants to stay. Now they're asking her to stay and she wants to leave. Literally being a pain in the ass just because. Normally, I would use this term for marketing, but my friends and I like to call these kinds of people high-friction individuals. The reason being that ideally, when you try to sell something in a business, you try to reduce the number of actions that a person has to take to buy your product. Doing that increases the likelihood that customers will make a purchase, like Amazon's one-click buys. It's easy for a reason. To put it simply, the number of actions that you have to take to do something is called friction. And usually, when you're trying to improve your life, one of the most effective ways of doing that is to reduce friction or reduce the number of actions that it takes to accomplish things that are good for you. However, the mentally ill love increasing friction and adding roadblocks to everyday activities. Think of a show like Hoarders where walking to the front door is almost an impossible task. I swear I watched an episode where a woman had to use her neighbor's toilet because her house was so full of junk that she couldn't use her own bathroom. That's high friction. So understand the amount of roadblocks that this streetwalker is putting everyone through just to get some pieces of paper from the dentist.
You're making a bigger issue than
I'm not trying to make an issue. I'm not trying to make a problem. Why can't I go for a walk until this is done? Why do I have to?
How much longer till the documents are ready? Okay.
So can I go for a walk until it's done?
No, stay here or we're going to be trespassing you from here, okay?
Why?
Just stay here. Just stay here. They're getting the papers. I'm not going to babysit.
You don't have to babysit. I said I would come back in a little bit when this is done. I can give you a call first, and then when they're done, I can call you and we can come here together if you want.
Just stay here for a minute.
I don't want to do that.
This girl is the queen of unnecessary roadblocks. To clarify and reiterate in case you forgot context, the original plan was to mail the documents to her. However, because the police are there and in order to reduce friction so they don't have to deal with her anymore, the dentist office has decided to ready the paperwork for her immediately. But instead of the suspect saying, okay, well, I'll just wait 5 minutes, she decides to overcomplicate everything by saying that she wants to go for a walk until the documents are ready, which is, of course, pissing off the officer because she doesn't want to waste police resources by waiting for some undetermined amount of time for the suspect to come back. Like, God, this chick's behavior is annoying. It's like having to type in my credit card number every time I want to make a purchase. Just arrest her and give her a huge fine. Stop trying to accommodate her. You need to inconvenience this chick back instead of letting her control the situation.
I just want to leave so that way I can go and finish what I had to do today.
They're working on it.
And they're...
Yeah, it's a lot worse than having to input your credit card numbers. I don't think that's a good analogous.
taking a long time, so I can't go for a walk because I have to fill out an application and an interview right now.
Okay. You left. Okay,
Yes.
we saw you leave. I hung out here for another 5 minutes. You clearly weren't coming back. I told them you left.
I never said I wasn't coming back. I never said
And by the way, this is what privilege looks like. This white woman privilege. This is pretty white girl privilege right here. Because if this was a ninja, the cuffs would already been out.
How am I supposed to know? I can't read your mind.
That ninja would be 4 officers with a knee in the back of that ninja out in the parking lot.
You can't read my mind. Okay, you don't know what I'm going to do or what I have to do. I had an appointment to go to another place that's near here that I missed an appointment.
Right, now it's the officer's fault that you missed your interview because you couldn't wait for some paperwork. I mean, your pimp said it was okay to wait. Also, she's not dressed for an interview. She started this video out in a sweatshirt and yoga pants. I doubt she's about to be interviewed or going to an appointment or whatever she changed it to. Maybe the actual story is that she was supposed to go meet a client, if you know what I mean.
I'm not trying to play games. I have an appointment somewhere else that I have to be at.
Okay, then do you want to come back later today for the documents?
I can come back whenever I need.
I'm going to tell you, this. I think this woman is lying. I think that she's just making stuff up.
Come back for the paperwork and whenever the paperwork is done. That's not a problem. I don't mind coming back when the paperwork is done.
You had an issue with it earlier today.
No, I did not.
You did. That's why I was called here, because you had an issue with it. I'm not playing games with you.
I never had an issue coming back to pick up my paperwork, but they told me that I wasn't going to be able to get it for a while.
Now you have the customer thinking, what the hell, why is there a cop here? Let me just say that if I'm a new customer and I saw this shit going down, I would probably never come to this business again, and I would tell them
100%. 100%. I'm going to tell you something that went down yesterday, and I've been thinking about this. Maybe y'all can tell me what you think I should do. So I went to our gym, our gym. I've been taking my son to the gym, and so we had Memorial Day, and he had the day off. Of course, I'm out with school now, so after my show, we went to the gym. And a couple months ago, my card, my debit card, had some sort of fraud issue. And so I discontinued that card and started a new card. So they canceled everything, and I've had to go one by one, different things that I had automatic payments set up, and reset those things up. But I totally forgot that I used that card for the gym. And I didn't get a phone call, no email, nothing. And apparently, and they have some sort of grace period. So apparently April, the payment was supposed to be made the beginning of April and the beginning of May were not made. And so when I came in, the membership had been canceled. Okay. Of course, I had no idea. Now my son is with me, and the gym opened at 12, and we just got there at like 12:15 or something like that. So there's a bunch of people there standing in their front. And I'm having a conversation with with a young lady about it, somebody helping out, and she's being reasonable about it. She's saying, hey, it looks like X, Y, and Z happened. You need to bring your account to current and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't receive any notification of this, X, Y, and Z. And then I was asking about what the options were. And then this guy's probably 50 years old. So black guy with really long fingernails, unusually long fingernails, kind of overweight kind of guy. Well, not just kind of. He's probably 75 pounds. He's probably 80 pounds overweight. You know, he's an obese guy. Okay, so he starts talking, and he's loud talking, and he's like loud talking all my business. Well, you didn't make the payment, sir, and no, we can't do this, and blah, blah, blah. And that was canceled due to non-payment, and like this. And I'm like, this is my personal business with you, and you're loud talking, and there's all these people that are coming in right now, let alone the fact that my son is right here with me. And my son doesn't need to know what's going on with my accounting. Right? So anyhow, I came in, I rectified the thing, but I've been thinking about calling his supervisor. I know the guy's name, and basically telling him what I think about this interaction. Now, I don't throw titles around, and I don't do that kind of thing. And I don't expect people to treat me differently just because of whatever. But I've never, ever had this sort of issue. Never had this issue before. Not with this place, and certainly not with the previous gym or anything like that. So anyhow, y'all can tell me what you think I should do. You think I should call up there to let them know that this dude ain't doing what he needs to do? He's rubbing his clients the wrong way, sharing information with general people coming in that is not their business. Or what do you think? Y'all can put it in the chat. We'll keep going.
My friends to not go there because I would think it's ratty. For longtime customers, it might be different, but it is very likely that she's costing this dentist office business by causing a scene. They should just arrest her at this point.
Why can't I just come back after I finish what I had to finish there, and then I can finish my and then I can come and pick up the documentation? And I can call you.
Just wait a second. Is it ready?
2 more minutes. He's finishing his note real quick. That's why we said it would be better if she came back.
Right. Well,
now she come back. Ever.
Okay, so she can be trespassed?
Yes.
Okay, so you hear this. Okay, if you leave the property and come back, you'll be arrested. If you leave right now, you cannot come back. Okay?
I just want my paperwork.
Okay, wait 2 minutes, and you'll have your paperwork. Okay? Do you understand? If you return this property, you will be arrested.
I don't mind that. I don't care about that.
Okay, so
that's fine. I just want my documentation so I can take it to my new doctor. So they can do what they need to do. Since they don't want me here.
Moody. Okay.
I have to.
You have to be here. And
let me write down my information or whatever.
Okay, ma'am, sit down.
I'm not a dog. I'm not sitting down like I'm a dog. I'm not a dog.
Stay right there. You're not moving anywhere. You're waiting for your documents. Unless you want to leave, you're going to be trespassed and you'll be arrested if you return.
I want my paperwork.
Come sit down. You're not blocking the doorway.
I'm not a dog.
You smoking on 94?
For what?
We need back up here in case I have to go hands on with you. Come sit down right now.
For what? I'm asking for my documents.
Get out of the doorway. You're not going to be blocking the doorway for all these other customers.
Oh my goodness. What's happening, Afro Merchant?
Blocking the doorway for anything. The door's open. Anyone can come in here. I'm not blocking anyone.
Come on, she's begging to be arrested. I understand trying to de-escalate when possible, but she's crossed a line like 10 different times, so now it's time to make her life hell so she doesn't think she can get away with this elsewhere. The reason she's so confident in being a pain in the ass to police is because she does this to other people and they put up with it. Now, if you're afraid of standing up to this kind of person, let me just say that most of them are really weak and they cave instantly the minute someone tells them to shut up.
All right, do you have your ID on you?
No, I do not.
All right, get off the phone.
No, I'm calling my mom.
Get off the phone.
You can't tell me I can't call my mom.
Come sit over here. All right, she's trespassed. They're getting her documents right now.
I'm waiting.
She wants to be argumentative with me. I told her to sit down. She wants to call her mom and stay in the doorway.
They're refusing.
Go wait outside.
They refuse to
All right, let's go outside.
No, I'm not doing anything. They told me to wait 2 minutes for my paperwork. I'm waiting for my paperwork. I'm opening. The door's open. Wide open.
Go outside and go to jail.
Issue. All right, why am I getting arrested? For what? Why am I getting
arrested?
Okay.
Go outside.
Dude, now you know it's real.
Why my paperwork? Why is it a problem?
Get up and go outside because you're not listening.
Okay, if you do not get up right now, you're going to jail.
That's it.
Just
All
go.
right,
No, I'm going outside. I'm going outside.
No,
I'm outside.
I'm not playing games.
I'm outside. I'm not playing any games. I'm not playing any games. I'm outside. I'm outside.
See what I mean? Instantly caved. She's used to walking all over people, but she's not used to them standing up for themselves, so she doesn't know.
All right, I'm gonna call. Yeah, that ninja needs a check. So we'll give him a check.
How to deal with it. That's how most of these annoying people are.
Turn around.
You're hurting me.
Turn around.
I'm trying to stop. Get off of me. You're hurting me.
Body cam footage has been great for exposing how these police encounters actually go. Really eye-opening. You can see she is clearly resisting arrest. She's very clearly resisting being grabbed.
Why are you doing this? I just wanted my documentation. Why are you doing this?
I got one, Kev.
Oh.
Go. Hey, stop. Resist.
Turn around.
You're going to get hurt if you don't comply. And it's by your own accord. Hey, release your hands.
You want to get tased?
Let go of your hands.
Back now.
Go.
Hey.
I just wanted my documentation.
Then you should have listened.
Stop resisting.
I was listening.
You are not listening.
I can't breathe.
Stop.
Talking means that you can breathe, by the way.
Stop.
Crying means that you can breathe. The kind of crying she's doing.
Stop.
Every person being arrested since about 2014 suddenly can't breathe. I mean, she's breathing so loudly that you can hear it. She's like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Now, in the past, I might have spoken differently, but in the modern day, I'm so sick of people who pull this shit that the more they cry and struggle while they're in the process of finding out, the more I enjoy the video.
Knock it off.
That's my home, my wallet, everything in it.
We're going to bring all your stuff now. Knock it off.
Hey, I need my ID and my wallet.
Wait, I thought you didn't have your ID.
All right, do you have your ID on you?
No, I do not.
All right.
I guess she did have it.
No, I need my ID. I need my wallet.
You're going to get everything. Calm down.
No, I need my ID. I need my wallet. All over.
You'll get everything. Calm down. This is ridiculous.
I just wanted my documentation.
Then you would have got it if you listened. Let's go. Stand up and get in the car.
You want to talk about mental health crisis? What's happening to Clark Goodlow, right? Yeah, he needs a ninja wake up call. That's right.
No, I'm not getting arrested for this.
Yes, you are. Get in the car.
Why am I getting arrested?
Because now you're getting arrested for refusing to move and it's assaulting a police officer. Get in the car.
I didn't assault a police officer.
Get in.
Man, you're gonna get pulled in if you don't get in the conversation.
You're going to get tased in 1 second.
I didn't assault a police officer. I need my backpack, please. I need my backpack, please. Hey,
Get
I
in
need
the
my
car.
backpack, please. Please.
Get it.
God, what a day, what a nuisance. It's very shocking that no one got hurt.
Goodness
The suspect starts
gracious,
kicking the
man.
door and the glass window, though for the most part, the police have her under control. And now that the witch is contained, let's see how the dentist is doing.
I think she probably has something in her bag she doesn't want you guys to know. Is she like hid from you guys around the corner somewhere?
A little snitch. I think there's something in her backpack that she hid from you. Good move. Get her in as much trouble as possible. Because I think what this lady is suggesting is that the real reason that the suspect actually wanted to take a walk is so that she could ditch some drugs or do them.
What's happening, Shadrach? That actually makes sense.
Honestly, it's hard not to think that this girl is a regular user of hard drugs based on her completely unhinged behavior over some paperwork.
I told you I was frightened.
I not
Two men
I told you we were going to be back.
2 men on a young lady? It's just crazy to me.
She's in.
All right, so this is her stuff.
Hang on, I got to close her.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
This is her paperwork. I never want to see the lady again. I don't
Perfect.
know what I need to do for
Alright.
that trespassing or whatever, but...
She already knows she's trespassed. She called an issue, so. Okay.
Well, thank you. I apologize. No, it's okay. I've never in my life seen something that crazy, but I guess that's normal for you guys.
Yeah, I only saw something that's crazy one other time, and it was me fighting another girl with that.
It's always the girls.
That's an interesting perception. But now we finally have the paperwork.
Oh, it's always a girl. It's always a girl. You heard that.
Mission accomplished. Though this all could have maybe just been an email, keep it simple. Next, the police have to look through her bag, and it looks like she has some makeup brushes that she's now going to have to throw away because they put them on the floor. Great move, cops. I approve. We have some 5 gum and something that looks like a burner phone. So she's not beating the drug addict prostitute allegations.
No, can I please call my dad? Please, it's his birthday today. I can't miss this, please. Please, I just don't want to get arrested. I didn't do anything to deserve this, please. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
She doesn't want to go back to jail. If you didn't learn anything the first time around, then this is not how you don't go back to jail. This is how you go back to jail for nothing.
Back to jail, please don't make me go back to jail. I don't want to go, please.
Going back to jail? Now, again, you might think it's heartless for me to make fun of her frantically crying or possibly having a panic attack.
Mom, my mom's right there. My mom's right there. Mom, my mom's right there. She's in that Jeep right there. My mom's in the Jeep right there, please. Mom, please, Mom, no.
What the heck, man? Goodness gracious.
Mom, no.
holy shit, literally as mature as a toddler. So you may think it's like heartless for me to make fun of this person because it looks like she's crying and having a panic attack or whatever. But remember, she caused all of this. She could have just been polite to the dentist, but instead she had to disrupt their business and possibly scare their customers away. Not to mention they gave her like 20 different warnings to try and prevent her from being arrested. Personally, I think it should have been like 2 or 3. We need to be less tolerant of these people. My empathy goes out the window for those who cause their own problems like this. Like I said, I actually enjoy watching people like this suffer. You have to be in that mindset or you'll get manipulated by their crying and fake sob stories. Now, if this were someone who was innocent, watching a video like this would genuinely be traumatizing. For example, watching Irina Zarutska get stabbed caused me mental health issues for weeks. But when it's someone finding out after some shit they started, I don't lose sleep at all. Weird how that works.
I'm begging, please! Have mercy! Have mercy, please!
Geez, I gotta show the free ring clip again.
Demons use words to trick humans. You can't trust a thing they say. They're monsters who learn to speak. Monsters who found they could lure in humans by crying, "Help me."
I'm tired of these people playing victim to make us feel sorry for them as a way of getting out of drama that they caused. I have seen so many bad people play this game that the minute I see it, I instantly start hating the person.
You're all gonna burn. Just wait. Hell is opening up soon. Have fun. And good luck. I wish you all the best.
This is a witch, bro. Do you hear what she's saying? Did you hear what she's saying? Hear this again. And I remember this from before now. I forgot that she was on this demonic stuff.
See it? I instantly start hating the person.
You're all gonna burn. Just wait. Hell is opening up soon. Have fun. And good luck. I wish you all the best. Satan will be here.
Oh, so she's literally a demon.
It's that demon spirit again. Smiley face emoji.
Yeah, yep. Thank you very much for that. This is a little bit of a different version of this one. This is more of like a violent demon. The other one is just like a refuse to, to deal. Goodness. Let's see here. All right, let's keep going.
Or she's one of those women who thinks she's like a witch or something who can cast spells. A lot of prostitutes are into that witchcraft shit. You know, they say the devil makes work for idle hands, and basically what's going on here is that this is like a directionless person who just kind of exists and has no life purpose. So her purpose becomes annoying as many people as possible. Social media is full of these types.
Prove to me you guys are not racist and let us two sit down. Yeah. Prove that you guys are not racist and let us two sit down. All right, come on. Let's do it. Prove it. Prove you're not racist. All right, that's one. That's one. Thank you. That's one. One more. One more. Oh my God, you guys are going viral. They're going to say you're so good. Look at, what are your names? Say your names. Say it. Is it good?
They're like, yeah, we're not giving you our names. Go away. For context, this took place in New York. I love the lack of social awareness here, where the guy doesn't get that the only reason that they moved is because they don't want to get assaulted. Now, you might think that these surrounding people would help them if they were to get attacked, but not in New York. If they try to help, they'll get arrested, while the criminal will just walk free. Why would anyone want to live in NYC? Speaking of the miscreants of society, let's check back in with our little spellcaster. She's really been creating a ruckus in that cop car by kicking the door a bunch of times, so reminding everyone that she said she didn't want to be treated like a dog. The police have decided to transfer her into the human equivalent of a kennel van.
Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Oh, this is cutting off my circulation and it hurts, please.
Listen, no more fighting, all right? Or you're going to have more charges and you're going to stay in jail longer.
Why am I going to jail?
Let's go. No more fighting. Let's go. Come on. You'll get out. You'll get out today if you don't fight.
You're going to get more charges if you don't comply with
this.
this.
The faster you get there, the faster you'll get out. As soon as you get out, we're going to put them in the front. But you got to stand up. We're going to take those off and put them in the front, all right?
What's happening, Eric Desmond? Man, if they would have heard that demonic chant stuff that she was doing, and you see she's spitting and stuff in there. You see the spit on the door. Come on, man. I'm support. Yeah, right. Isn't she love you? Right.
So it looks like she damaged that door. I hope they charge her for that instead of having my tax dollars go to replacing that panel.
Hang on. No, you got to put them in the front or we're going to put them in the back. Where do you want them? Oh, stop. It's not tight. No, it's not tight.
It hurts from the being on
All right, hang on.
Squeezing my wrist.
All right, hang on. Okay.
My wrist hurts.
good. It is not tight. If I can get my bit for American book. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't even try to put your finger through it.
Okay, come on, get up in there, all right? Come on. Sit right up in the corner. All the way over.
All right, scoot in. Okay. All right, whatever. Or, hey, you're gonna hit by the door. Or you can
That's right.
You can see the cops were laughing at her.
Goodness.
Looks like I'm not the only one who enjoys the reactions that
87 people watching, only 70 likes. Hit that like button.
people have when they find out. So that's pretty much it. It says here that she spent 5 days in jail. Not long enough, in my opinion. Give her like 2 weeks. She also got a nearly $500 fine. Make it more. Well, never mind. The jail time's enough. Her mom's just going to pay that fine for her. How do you think she turned out that way? But I cannot
that's right. That's right.
stress this enough. Our punishments are way too light in this country. We need to be tougher on criminals and tougher on people who create problems for either no reason or out of extreme selfishness. And also, we should be very outspoken against behavior like this.
Like, I don't understand, like, if you're struggling, why don't you go to like a cheap buffet? And you just go to the buffet and you have like all you can eat stuff and then just like save the food when people aren't looking. Go to buffets and spend the minimum amount and get all the food and just wait until no one's looking at you and like bring Tupperware and put it there. Okay?
Hey everybody, life hack, just steal. Gee, I don't think any poor person's ever thought of that one before. I guess buffets are gonna have to close now because of changes in consumer habits. But with all of this in mind, maybe some Stoic philosophy is relevant because people love to use their economic situation or social standing as an excuse for their shitty behavior. However, as far back as 2,000 years ago, some people realized that whether you're rich or poor, all people suffer, all people can have discipline or be degenerate, and all people are capable of good behavior or bad behavior. This assumption that being poor means you're moral and being rich means you're immoral is stupid. There are rich people who do good things and there are poor people who do bad things, and all of us can fall into the same vices no matter what our wealth or social standing is. So the measure of a person
Yeah, but there is an issue with this. So power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There is that makes it a little bit different. Probably a lot different, actually. So I'd argue that disproportionately people that have more money than God, I mean, you see it with the rich young ruler. You know, Jesus says, "Sell all your stuff, give it to the poor, come follow me." He couldn't do it, right? Let's keep going.
should not be how much money they have or how popular they are. The measure of a person should be their virtue, because everybody can practice good virtue. Everybody can do the right thing. And the measure of a good society is about how many virtuous people are in it, which is why we need to keep all the wrong.
We're now in the era where people will see women can be just as degenerate as men when given unmitigated power.
Yep. Thank you very much for that. 100%. What's happening, Jamar? Roll it.
Doers in line or quarantine them to a mental hospital or an island. Outside of that, if you want to find yourself in a happy place with people who like you, there's nothing more valuable than a person who's honest, a person who doesn't have like 10 different vices, and a person who will do what they can to help others if they need it. And the way you achieve this, whether you are rich or poor, is to get your self-esteem from your good deeds and your discipline, instead of getting it from the things that you can buy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, that was a bonus. Let's get into our next topic. And this is our next topic right here. Let's see here. This is racial hierarchy and black men. Racial hierarchy and black men. Let's check it out.
If a white man is walking down the street and he sees a couple, a very attractive black man, really masculine, and with him a very attractive white woman, very white, we'll make her blonde, he looks at that woman and he wonders, this is the white man, what does she see in him?
Body build on black men are usually more muscular, more masculine, and that is sexy to me.
Racially, ethnically, religiously, politically, nationally, and so forth. We are a hierarchical species, point blank. Certainly white men, they make it easy to find that evidence. There's all kinds of reports, there's statements and studies, there's things they will say exactly how they feel about black male masculinity. And once you're telling me how you feel, I understand how that's going to influence your behavior.
This means they have a powerful, direct, and clear continuous connection with European civilization. White people experience an evolutionary match. They didn't go to America and learn Native American culture. They didn't go to the Caribbean or Australia and pick up their cultures. They kept their own culture. So they are a match, an evolutionary match with the culture and the institutions in all of those nations because they brought all of them from Western Europe. That's why those societies work so well for white people. They are in cultures that advantage them.
I'm Chris Grandison. Welcome to my channel, Xenogenesis, where I apply evolutionary behavior sciences to Black community issues. And today is the Q&A session responding to the questions I've received on the past few colorism videos. Question here from JJ. Do you think another ethnic tribal-based hierarchy will form after white supremacy's collapse? If so, what will this look like? White supremacy is not collapsing. There's a reduction, their numbers are falling down. But where we are technologically, they're still going to be able to maintain global dominance. And the way they're behaving towards each other, it's still going to maintain white supremacy. The issue of anti-blackness culture.
This is anti-blackness culture. So we're talking about knowledge, preferences, beliefs, values, and attitudes that are negatively associated with the Black race. And we acquire it from other human beings via social learning.
It causes us to cooperate less with each other. It causes more tribal behavior amongst Black people and within the tribe as well. A high trust society or group or civilization, they cooperate with each other at a higher level. White people trust each other more. White people intergroup cooperate at a higher level more. If white groups, white societies, white nations, white civilizations continue to trust and cooperate with each other at a higher level, white supremacy ain't going anywhere.
White people didn't invent a new culture when they migrated to these different continents and places where they went. They knocked off the people that were living there, brought a Western culture with them, and retained that cultural base as it evolved into what it is now, wherever they are, whether it's Canada, New Zealand, whatever. They speak the same languages, have the same names, God, mythologies, history, cultural values, standards, all of this. And most critically, the institutions. You must keep your own institutions if you want your society to operate effectively and efficiently. So this is why wherever Europeans go, they don't take anyone else's institutions. They always bring their own with them that evolved naturally out of their own cultural history and practices, and they're informal institutions. So they evolved naturally out of Western culture and European psychology. And there are differences in psychology as we move around the planet because cultural variation creates differences in psychology. This means they have a powerful, direct, and clear, continuous connection with European civilization. White people experienced an evolutionary match. They didn't go to America and learn Native American culture. They didn't go to the Caribbean or Australia and pick up their cultures. They kept their own culture. So they are a match, an evolutionary match with the culture and the institutions in all of those nations because they brought all of them from Western Europe. That's why those societies work so well for white people. They are in cultures that advantage them. When you construct the culture, that culture will advantage you. If they assimilated into Native American culture, they would have to deal with Native American advantages, and as white people, they wouldn't have those advantages. That's why they knocked off everyone's culture wherever they went. I'm not saying that's morally good, but you certainly would call that adaptive. As again, this white supremacy culture is fantastically successful. And right there on the screen is why they've been fantastically successful. They keep that culture, it's an evolutionary match. They keep the institutions that match their psychology. So those institutions operate at a high level. And when those same institutions are copied by people in other parts of the world, let's say Africa or Asia or South, they don't work the same because the people are psychologically different and have a vastly different institutional and cultural history. So those institutions can't operate the same.
If Black people aren't trusting each other more, aren't cooperating with each other on the level that they should, then they never get to actually come together to the point they need to develop themselves, to defend themselves from people who perceive Black people as inferior.
And unfortunately, Black folks do not trust each other at the level that white folks trust each other. So that already hamstrings you. Now, and part of this is because of the way that we got here, right? Well, I'm talking about Black Americans now. The way that we got here. So we're basically hundreds of different tribes cobbled together, and the thing that we had in common was was slavery, right? So, and then you eliminate the whatever connection to whatever our religions were, whatever our structures, our historical continuity of traditions that we were, bringing forth. All that stuff is cut off. So it's not a likely outcome that without having any connected history that we're ever going to get to the place where we have that kind of trust in each other. And then, of course, it's been intentionally undermined by this monkeying around in the black community that the dominant society tends to do with different legal measures, right? Driving a wedge between black men and women by incentivizing women to take the money and not cohabitate with the father of their kids. All of this kind of stuff. Taking the feminist deal, the whole womanness over blackness, treating that as if that was the primary, oppression, which it was not. Right. Let's keep going.
Now, obviously, black people aren't the only other, non-white group in the world. Are Asians cooperating at the level they need to challenge white supremacy? They're doing it better than black people are, but I don't know if they're cooperating at the level they need to, not at this time, to challenge white supremacy. And of course, in Asia, there's still a very positive perception of white people. So this is one of the things about how white supremacy weakens you. If you have a more positive perception of their society and civilization than your own, or even if you just have a perception of them that causes you not to challenge them the way you need to compete against them the way you need to, so you're not dominated by them, then you continue to be dominated by them. Now,
what's happening, Tony Black? And one of the ways I think that the dominant society, and if you go back to my monologue, and I was talking about how, can an LGBT person, can they be racist? Can a feminist be racist? When I'm asking these questions, it's the fact that feminists and LGBT are disproportionately dominant society folks. Right? So, and this has become another way to divert the resources back to the dominant society, right? Right? You classify women as minorities, and then of course also LGBT as minorities, and then you fund you aim the resources at that community, and then that of course is the dominant society that's diverting it back to the dominant society. So you have that, but you also have it also simultaneously, it sort of endears that community to general folks, right? And then they're a protected group. So you can't go hard in the paint. You can't criticize harshly. You can't, you can't treat them like anybody else. You have to treat them special. You got to treat it with kid gloves, addressing those sorts of issues. And so then that gives it the impression of actually that group actually being, disproportionately oppressed and like this. So then, now it's like, now they're endeared to other minorities, right? So you have all of these sort of clever tactics to end around the actual issues without ever addressing black issues, and to make it seem as though the issue that they're funneling most of the resources to, this LGBT thing, is actually a way for them to hide the money. It's a way to send the money back to themselves. It's like they're laundering their own money.
That can change relating to what I said before about performance. When you see your own group performing more and more at a higher level, you can tend to start to have more respect for your own group. Again, that's tending to happen with what we're seeing in China. As they're becoming more powerful on all these different levels, they're starting to perceive themselves as not second to anyone. Now, I know historically China never perceived themselves as second to anyone, but they did have the century of humiliation when the Western powers came to China and tore them apart and were disrespectful to them and conquered major parts of China and just completely disrupted their nation state. But they were thoroughly dominated.
So, and then here's the other thing. Now you have certain folks, certain white nationalist types that are clamoring about the whole birth rate decline and how, they need to reproduce more and like this and whatever. But you also have, coming from dominant society again, a lot of this population control stuff. So it's kind of like, well, if we're not going to reproduce at a faster rate, the dominant society that is, then we can promote things that will limit other people reproducing. So then we can still maintain whatever numbers that we have, whatever percentage we have. Right? Because if you dip below, too much further below, then you're going to have an issue just with sheer numbers. You won't be able to do what you're doing with sheer numbers. So
they call it the century of humiliation. They are responding to that century of humiliation basically with a never again attitude and a focus on developing themselves and their strength to such a degree that that can't happen again. And they do talk about white supremacy and things like that there as well. But white supremacy's collapse, I wouldn't assume that. And I wouldn't assume that based on looking around in the world now, just because there's more contention, there's more challenge, and the white population is shrinking, it does not mean white supremacy is going to collapse. Where's the AI technology? Where are the most advanced weapon systems?
GM, Doc. Great segment. Should consider the whole anti-black coalition? Non-youths who practice anti-blackness, thereby supporting the system.
Yeah, I think you have to expose the whole thing. Anyone that is in cahoots, and I'd say black feminists are a problem. Because feminism, as I call it all the time, feminism is a proxy of white supremacy. Okay, so black feminists they're fighting for Becky. They're fighting for, awful, affluent white female urban liberal. They're fighting for the white feminists. If you listen to the rhetoric of the suffragettes, of the the sort of proto-feminists, they're profoundly racist. They don't even try to hide it, and they didn't even want black women even anywhere close to it. But then they figured, hey, we can increase our numbers, and we can also have some disposables. Some folks that can, it's better for them to take strays than for us. So then they can be on the front line taking all the slings and arrows, and then we can, and we can tell them stuff like, we want you to be strong and independent. You don't need no man. All this kind of stuff. So they want them to be, buying into that kind of stuff, while meanwhile they were they were going back home to their husband and happily playing second fiddle, right? And there's this tendency to characterize this white patriarchal structure as being, it's just a bunch of white men controlling this, old white men. There's women in there too. There's women in there too. And there's a lot of women. And even if the women aren't, no, first of all, the women are involved in making decisions because they're in advisory roles frequently. And, so that's one. But even if the women are not making decisions, there's a lot of women that are actually in the machine. They're the ones that are pulling the levers. They're the ones that are doing the bidding. Okay, so you can't act like that's not the case. And I always like to use the example of slavery. I always like to use this as an example because it's very clear. Okay, So if you think that white women, first of all, if you think that they couldn't own anything prior to the right to vote or property rights and all this kind of thing, it's false. Now, single women could own things and people, slaves, and a married woman couldn't own anything, and because she couldn't accrue debt, and she couldn't, have a bank account and stuff like that. But when her husband died, she inherited everything that was his. So that was her stuff. And guess what? The woman, the white woman, the wife of the slave master, as it were, she was running the plantation. She was making decisions on who was being bred to whom, what punishments were going to happen, all this kind of stuff. And then to eliminate the, what is it called? She was just doing this to survive. And, she was afraid that she was going to be, abused and beaten, stuff like that, if she didn't just do what the guy told her to do, like the Stockholm Syndrome thing. To eliminate that, when the slave master died, the woman just kept running the thing like it was no different. She didn't free the slaves. She didn't facilitate, them to be able to go up north, and to freedom. She didn't do any of that. She just kept, beating ninjas and breeding them and all the same stuff that she was doing when the dude was alive. See, and so all of that stuff is it's bogus. This is like, come on. But yeah, I think the whole structure has to be, examined. You have to. You got to look at this. Anybody that is look, this is one of the reasons why Tariq Nasheed, with the whole his whole tethers thing, this is the reason for that. If you're an immigrant, by definition, an immigrant is going to be more aligned with the dominant society than not. You can't come in without kicking dust on ninjas. You can't come in critiquing the dominant society and how they address, historical impropriety as it's been doled out to black people. You can't do that. All you're allowed to do, you can address issues that are approved by the dominant society. So say, for instance, LGBT, that's approved by the dominant society. Right? Because disproportionately, LGBT is dominant society, folks. So you can address that, but you can't go in talking about how this country is, impropriety against, black men and stuff like that. You couldn't talk like that. You have to come in kicking dust on ninjas. Y'all didn't work hard enough. You're lazy. How come my family, comes here and in 2 generations we own the whole block? Y'all ninjas are black on black crime and all like this. So you're supposed to come in and talk that same yin yang. And the thing is, this is what Tariq Nasheed, he's talking about. So y'all come in with that hot fire, anti-ninja stuff, and then because of your, usually those that look more like us, we'll say, more sort of African diaspora folks that come in. They come in and they talking that bootstrap bro pathology stuff. They talking all of that, dusty ninjas, type of stuff. But then because they look too much like that, they start getting lumped in with us, right? And they're like, "Whoa, this ain't." And then now you want to talk to us. Now you see what the issue is, and it's like, nah, man. We've been playing this for too long. Yeah, we're done with that. So I would argue anybody that comes in and aligns with the dominant society and is unwilling to address these issues that I'm talking about, you have to look at them like they're, at least with respect to this issue. I mean, look, I collaborate with a lot of folks that have all kinds of different perspectives, and that's totally fine. I don't have an issue with that. But with respect to this issue, moving the needle on this, you have to look at folks with the side eye that, you know, that have been aligned with that thing. I mean, you just have to, you know. And again, we're not talking about all white people. We're not talking about all, you know, the immigrants. We're not talking about that. That's not what I'm saying. You know, I'm not talking about all of anything. You'd have to take it on a case by case. You can understand that it's likely the majority of, you know, you can do that. But I mean, so there can be nuance in the discussion. But this is what it is. This is what time it is. Let's keep going.
They are in the white civilization. And believe me, if they see some type of threat to that civilization, as in white civilization is going to go the way of the dodo, they're going to be using that technology to maintain their dominance. And it won't just be one white nation state. The other white nation states are cooperating with each other. Look at the alliances they form. You know, NATO or AUKUS. With the rise of China, Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States have formed an alliance to try to contain.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, if I don't have a dog in the fight, look, you come from some other part in the world and you have no knowledge of, and even if you did have knowledge of it, it ain't your history. Why would you come in and identify with, try to align with, you know, the most oppressed, you know, group, maybe in the history of the world? Why would you do that? Of course you would come in and try to align with the dominant society. Of course you're going to do that. So frankly, I don't necessarily fault them. I'm just saying, because, you know, because they have a similar melanin, that don't mean that they're going to advocate for you.
China. So that part of that question, you know, I don't see white supremacy's collapse at this time, because the way non-white groups would need to behave to truly challenge it, they're not doing that yet. Maybe they will, but that's not taking place at this time. Now,
we need 20 more likes. Hit that like button.
Now, do I think another ethnic tribal-based hierarchy will form after white supremacy's collapse, and what would it look like? Yes, like I talked about with Asia, they're possibly moving in, well, not possibly, they are definitely moving in that direction. Now, what can happen with that? It's not like the Western world isn't noticing that and thinking about what they may need to do to stop that. There's all types of strategies now in play to try to contain Chinese development, because they don't want Chinese dominance or Asian dominance. And then the other Asian nations, they don't cooperate with China the way Western nations cooperate with the United States. So you don't have a NATO and things like that for China. It's because of the ancient relationships between South Korea and Japan, and then with Japan and things they did to China in World War II and so on. Those wounds are still there. They're not formed in any kind of alliance yet, but let's say they did. You know, if Vietnam and China and Singapore and Indonesia, all these different nation states, they started to really combine economically, militarily, technologically, and so on, they would be the next dominant racial civilization on Earth. Massive population, massive land area. They are certainly advancing themselves technologically and with their weapon systems. I mean, you go back, 30, 40 years, China didn't really have a space program. Now look at their space program. They got a space station. They're talking about going to the moon. Did all of this development basically independently. They would have stolen some technology from the West, but everyone does that. America stole technology from the British Empire when America was on their rise. That's what you do. What would it look like? Well, we are a status-oriented hierarchical species. So those hierarchies are always going to be there. So it would look just like what it's been. It's not like we didn't have other civilizational hierarchies or even a racial hierarchy. So those things would continue. Hierarchy would take place in some form. May not necessarily be racial anymore, may just be regional. It could be corporate, but we are a hierarchical creature. There's always going to be this push for hierarchy. The only times we don't really have hierarchy is when we create these structural, legal, and political barriers to hierarchy. Whenever
feminism,
we don't do that, there's significant hierarchies that develop amongst human groups, racially, ethnically, religiously, politically, nationally, and so forth. We are a hierarchical species, point blank. And that's another thing I wanted people to understand from my book, that stop trying to get, white people to treat you equally. Get powerful, get strong. You'll get respect. They're not going to like you, but you have to do those things. And you have to understand our tribal nature. Because as black people, sometimes there's this thinking that, well, if we stop doing this and if we behave that way, and maybe they'll start to perceive us as intelligent in them. And so black people being perceived as just as intelligent or more intelligent than white people or Asian people, that's not a good thing. Think about it from a team sports type of attitude. So the team you're competing against, do you want them to be as intelligent as you? Do you want them to be more intelligent than you? Do you want them to be more athletic than you? Do you want them to be better behaved than you or perceived as being better behaved than you? See, the nature of that relationship is competitive. That's the other tribe. You don't want the other tribe to have these attributes to an equal or higher degree than you. So when black people moved from being perceived as athletically inferior to equal or superior, it wasn't a good thing. It was something many people resent. Yeah, they look at it, they're entertained by it, but they would want to have it. And here it is on this other tribe of people who don't look like us, who we perceived as lower in stature than us, as being inferior to us, and here they are now doing something better than we can do it. Humans don't respond well to those types of arrangements. It's not.
We need 18 more likes, folks. Hit that like button.
Nice when it's within your tribe. You want your tribe to perform well, to be the best at this, that. But black people are the ultimate outsider. They are the ultimate outgroup people. Robin DiAngelo called them the ultimate racial other. What skills and abilities do you want the ultimate racial other to have? Do you want them to be as attractive, more intelligent? No. You have to get those things for yourself to improve the well-being within your own tribe. But in terms of, we improve in those areas, the other guys are going to start treating us better. Hell no, they're not. There'll be respect, because when you become more powerful, you have to respect that because of what they have an ability to do to you if you don't respect them. However, you're not going to be comfortable with it. There's going to be resentment for it. And it gets more complex with black people because we're perceived as an inferior race, because we're perceived as a lower status race. When an inferior, low status group of people start doing superior things, there is going to be a very strong negative reaction to these people I perceive as inferior and low status starting to outperform me, especially if they're outperforming me in my own house. Black men are a contradiction, They're being perceived as inferior, they're being perceived as low status. And we still see this in the behavior science research. That's still documented in plenty of 21st century research. At the same time, they are now perceived as being more masculine. And that, from a physical point of view, because there's two forms of masculinity, right? You have the cultural ideology of masculinity, which will vary according to the culture that you're in, your ethnic group, the nation, your society, Asia, Africa, whatever. There's going to be different forms of masculinity. That's all cultural. So those ideologies will vary as you move around the planet. Physical aspects of masculinity, your depth of voice, broad your shoulders, how much muscle are you carrying in your upper body, how tall are you, your bone structure. These are all things our brain documents on site and makes an assessment on site and then influences our behavior on site. Now, you've seen the information in the Black Masculinity series and the studies I put in there, and there'll be a hell of a lot more in the book I'm going to publish. So black men are walking around physically displaying more masculinity. Not cultural masculinity, physical displays of masculinity. And because all men want strong masculinity, perceiving these inferior black men of lower status as being more physically masculine, that's a contradiction. That is a conflict in the minds of the people who perceive themselves as superior to us. Or I should say, in the minds of the men who perceive themselves as superior to us. And of course, we are all men. We understand what strong physical masculinity is, what we think it can do, what it looks like, and how it can influence social behavior. Think about, let's say, with mating opportunities or mate competition. Do we think the taller, more athletically built guy with a deep voice, do we think he has a bit of an advantage in the mating market? Of course we do. Whether that's actually true, the research is variable. Either way, men think that. And if they think that, then that's the behavior, that's the attitude they're going to respond to. And that's how men feel when they deal with black men.
Well, how much? And we need 11 more likes, folks. Hit that like button.
Does sex and sexuality really have to do with race relations, particularly between white men and black men?
Well, if you take white men and black men, let's take it two ways.
Okay.
If a white man is walking down the street and he sees a couple, a very attractive black man, really masculine, and with him a very attractive white woman, very white, we'll make her blonde, He looks at that woman and he wonders, this is a white man, what does she see in him? What do they do together? And it really drives us up the wall, because she's a woman who could choose, a white guy, but she chooses a black guy. And that really bothers us. And as a result, what we want to do is some way take that black man away, because we begin to say, hey, is she having a better time with him, in various ways than she can with me? And so he's competition for us. And you know how people react to competition.
I've just been attracted to black men. Dreads, bald hair, braids, you're just sexy. Body build on black men are usually more muscular, more masculine, and that is sexy to me.
I don't know. I like black men more than I like actually white men.
Ah, so black over white men. Why is that?
I don't know. They're so fit.
Okay.
They look nice. They're tall. Most of them are tall, so I like tall guys. So.
Do you think they're more muscly as well?
Yeah, they're muscle and fit.
Okay, so apart from being fit, anything else? Like a lot of people say they've got more energy, they're more fun. Do you think that's true?
Yes, I think they're fun.
Some of them are really attractive, really nice body.
I really just think it's an attraction thing. Like, they're just more athletic, more dominant, funnier. Yeah, I think it's mainly like the energy. They just look better, more attractive features, etc. Whereas like dating a white guy, it's just so like basic, I guess you can say. And then obviously the plays a part and it pipe down. But if a black guy has a dominant energy, it's like that just makes sense. And this isn't always true. This doesn't go for every black guy. It doesn't go for every white guy. Like, that's just what I found happened. Okay, so
黒人さんがいいですね。アメリカ人とか。おお、その黒人さんがいい理由とかなんかあります？肌が黒いのがかっこいいのと、あと黒人さんの体型が好きです。なんかあんまりくびれがないマッチョっていうか、ドンみたいな。ああいうのが好きです。もう体型かっこいいみたいな感じですね。
Which Asian race is the best in bed?
Nigerians.
Yeah, they're not Asian.
Oh wait,
Asian.
Asian. Oh no, that's better today.
黒人男性にどういうイメージがあります？
普通にかっこいい。見た目がかっこいいです。ガタイがもうマッチョだったら。具体的な国名とかってあります？この国の一つ。黒人だったら。はい。
Like I look, but for black guys, for me, like it's rarely that they're not cute. Black guys, like everybody's cute on the street. Why not? It's like, but all the black guys like I've dated and seen their private parts. It's like from here to there.
What do you like about black men?
They don't have to say much. They walk into a black man walks into the room and
we need 11 more likes. 11 more likes.
He's the most physically fit. He's probably bigger than everybody up in there. Masculinity is it's not about what you say. It's about what you exude. And that's attractive as shit, especially for a woman who's feminine and feeds off of that. Yeah, that's attractive. If you got that kind of sauce and you walk into a room and you put that confidence out there, then you're gonna attract the right kind of energy.
A lot of this, certainly white men, they make it easy to find that evidence. There's all kinds of reports, there's statements and studies, there's things they will say exactly how they feel about black male masculinity. And once you're telling me how you feel, I understand how that's going to influence your behavior. So the resentment that black masculinity faces, a lot of that is based on just their bodies being more sensitive to testosterone, displaying more physical masculinity, and seeing that physical masculinity as a threat. It's a threat because they're not in my tribe. Those are black men. White men is my tribe. So great physical masculinity on white men, great. Great physical masculinity on black men, well, they're competitors. That's a challenge. So black physical masculinity is a threat because it's on members of an outsider tribe. Those are outgroup males, if you're, let's say, white male or an Asian male. So that masculinity over there has an ability to challenge the members of my tribe. And in the modern world, you can look at that, let's say, as mate competition. If they don't have those bad reputations and you put them all in the same space, they may outcompete you in the mating market, and you're not going to want that. Particularly for women you feel territorial about. So yeah, black men are doing great with their own black women. I don't necessarily want them coming over here now doing great with white women as well. That would put white men in the same situation. White men have put Asian American men in the United States, whereas a significant chunk of Asian American women are with white men.
It's like almost like 50% or something. We need 9 more likes. Hit the like button. What's happening in Karate Chop Shop?
You see a lot of resentment from Asian American men about that, and it makes sense. I'm not challenging that resentment. It should be there. There's a reduction in Asian American mate opportunities based on the significant percentage of Asian American women that white men have carved off for themselves because they're being perceived as more masculine than Asian American men. They've got Hollywood to do that. White American men are taller and carry more muscle than Asian American men. So between the cultural narrative that white men have in pushing their masculinity through TV and music and things like that, which Asian American girls will see growing up through all the media and in schools and high school and all those things, and then the biological reality that Asian American men are a bit shorter than white men and they carry a little less muscle than white men. So white men in America, in regard to their mate competition with Asian American men, they've got the cultural narrative with regard to their masculinity, and they control it because they have the power to put Asian American men on TV in submissive roles next to a dominant white male. And then the Asian American girl will grow up watching TV shows like that over and over again. And of course, they will have their own experiences. They're going to high school with Asian American guys and white guys. Who displays as more masculine in those environments?
All right, this is almost over. We're getting into our next segment.
So by the time they reach age where they're now starting to engage in sexual romantic relationships, if they like masculinity, strong masculinity, and not all women do, some women do not like that strong masculine man, and not a little, a significant chunk of women do not really like that strongly masculine male, certainly with regard to long-term mating relationships. They're not that big into that, but a significant chunk are. So in that context, if you're controlling the cultural narrative and you are physically presenting as more masculine than a group of men you compete with, well, yeah, you can take a chunk of their women, and that's what's happening. A lot of white men feel that way about black men. That's why you're going to have to need to hold down the black male reputation in various different ways, because that physical masculinity is attractive. And you can go a little further than that, because testosterone doesn't just masculinize the body, it does influence behavior too. Sometimes you'll hear women talk about, let's say, how confident and assertive and, you know, the swag, the way, the charisma, the way some black men carry themselves as being attractive. Testosterone can definitely influence that. If you're some guy whose testosterone is low, then they start giving you testosterone replacement therapy. They feel an assertive confidence boost and carry themselves differently. It influences their behavior.
Good stuff. That's a sub. He got a sub right there. Good video, really good video. All right, we are in our secondary topic. This is Ask a Brother podcast. Jeff St. James, and he's talking about the no-fly zone. he talking about something you're not supposed to talk about. Mum's the word on LGBTQ. That's my name of my segment. His video is called "The Price of Silence: The LGBTQ Issues Therapists, Doctors, and Professors Are Terrified to Speak On." Let's check it out.
What does that actually say about us as professionals, except that we are compromised professionals? Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and we're going to have a whole host of different people from different backgrounds coming in, because it really is about building a community of like-minded people that's just open to listening and hearing from other perspectives. The revolution is going to be because of us. Now, what it is about the show is going to be very serious. And some of you may be disgusted, angered, but I want to imagine that those who are often at the highest of these fields academically and with credentials, who are the most trusting, they may be, I'll say it this way. I think that their allegiance to these institutions and to these boards, like the brother said, there's one thing that they may not realize. Their ethics and their morality may go only as far as the orientational framework of the board or regulatory body that they're submitting to allows it to be.
Yep. You have to think about, look, as far as academia goes, you have to be very careful. You got to be real careful about what you say. You got to be real careful about what you say, who you say it to, particularly, you know, if you're operating in your capacity on campus. Now, theoretically, you're supposed to have freedom of speech, and what it is that you do with your own social media and your own stuff outside of the institution, that's your own business. Now, we know that, you know, there's a major violation on that too, and you have bad actors, people going out finding stuff to get offended by, and then in a way that is unscrupulous, that is unethical, using that as a way to block people from getting promoted or make their job harder and all this kind of stuff. We know that this stuff is happening. But certainly when you're on campus or operating in an official capacity, you have to be very careful. Mum's the word. Mum's the word on LGBTQ. Mum's the word.
So I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to talk about why this is a problem and why many people like myself are finally starting to transition to some degree out of the field or looking to get additional qualifications and certifications outside of just our license. Let's take a look.
Now, this is some pride event, right? This is a dominant society man. This is a white guy. Now, from doing this and acting in this way, behaving this way, aligning with this community, he's able to benefit from resources that were to go to minorities, right? And of course, the original minority, American descendants of slavery, he's able to benefit from that.
I got some questions for y'all. And this is specifically for the people who pride themselves on protecting the public, operating in good ethics. This, to me, which happens every year all around the country at pride parades and events, this is grooming. This is inappropriate.
He said it.
This is disgusting. And this is happening in front of children. And their parents are bringing them to see this.
I mean, I want to know what the defense is. I want to know what the defense is. Like, what are the parents going to say? Like, if you ask them. Now, some of them might be like, well, I didn't know he was going to be doing that. Okay. But we know that a lot of this kind of stuff, this is not the only example of this, right? We know a lot of this kind of stuff is going on at these events. So what are the parents going to say? What is their reason for having their kids come to this event with them? Right? And then people that are in leadership with this organization, these organizations that run these events, what is your, I just want to know what your argument is, like what your rationale is, why you think this is okay. I just want to have some kind of idea. Because if it was a heterosexual event and you had a bunch of gyrating and all kinds of stuff like this, people would not be thinking that that was appropriate for kids to be present at. Right? I'm just saying.
This is child abuse.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to call it. I don't know what else to call it. Maybe negligent, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I don't know what else you would call it. What's happening, Shepard? 59.
Now I got a question for you all. When we look at all the people who claim and tote these licenses and doctorates and works in these regulatory, all that's cool and all, but I got a couple questions. When you take examples like this, and you take examples like children coming in to letting you know that they need you to sign off on them wanting to proceed with starting hormone blockers or getting chest or genital reconstruction.
Look, mom's the word, right? You're not supposed to talk about this. You're supposed to act like this is not happening. You're supposed to act like this. I don't know. Again, I don't know. What do you call this? What do you call when the parent, which is supposed to be the voice of reason, is supposed to prevent the kid from hurting themselves, from permanently damaging themselves, is supposed to, be supporting the kid so that they can grow up and be well-adjusted adults with opportunities. And I don't think you're supposed to listen to the kid saying that, the boy that says, "Hey, I think I'm a girl," or "I want to be a girl." I don't think you're supposed to listen to that. I think you're supposed to say, "Look, let's focus on academics. Let's focus on discipline, structure. You're 7, you're 8. That ain't. I don't know why that you're 10, you're 12. You're not supposed to be. Look, my son tries to come to me and say, "Oh, I'm going to have a girlfriend." I'm saying, "No, you're not. You're going to work on your academics." So even on that side of it, I'm not telling my son to get out there and prove that you're heterosexual by getting a bunch of girls. I'm not doing that. I'm telling him, no, that ain't what you're supposed to be dealing with. You're supposed to be dealing with getting this together. Look, I need to take a picture of your room and show it to some of these girls that you like. Right? I'm telling him, you need to get yourself together. You shouldn't even be thinking about this.
I got a question, man. If you are worried about your job, about your license and your ability to operate in your quote unquote field or career, if you don't agree or affirm it, and if you are not allowed to factor parental influence, hormonal interventions that actually match their biological sex, and if you're not even allowed to distinguish which people are potentially using certain loopholes and advantages that comes with having to enable and affirm this type of stuff happening. And if you're not even willing to look into the possibility that the adoption of acknowledging, accepting, and fully affirming something that seems to be operating at a rate that looks to be resembling something closer to a social contagion. I gotta say, man.
Yep.
If you have all these doctorates and you got all these licenses and you have all this experience, but you're not willing and you're not able to acknowledge that this is disgusting, that this is grooming, that this is dangerous, that this is child abuse. And if you're fearful that you're going to lose your license, if you're not willing to intervene on any of those two examples I just gave, I'm going to say,
yeah, I'm telling him stuff like he don't need a girlfriend until he's 50. I'm telling, man, I'm serious, man. You need to get yourself together, bruh. What you talking about girls for? What you have to offer? Can't even keep your room clean, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, see, that's the conversation I'm having with him. So even on that side of it, see, that whole affirming thing, I'm not affirming him. He ain't getting no affirming Yeah, let's get you out there then. Oh, you like girls? Let's get you as with as many girls as we can. That'd be affirmation, right? I'm not affirming that. Get the crap out of here. I'm sorry, man. That whole thing, it's freaking child abuse, man. It's child abuse.
The thing that all of you who are so proud of your ethics and your field and your licenses, if you can't speak out on that stuff, if you're not willing to, if you're not able to, and if you know that you would potentially be at risk of losing your license, your career, your professorship, that's not ethical. That's not even clinical. That's political.
Yeah, and that's 100%. What he's saying is true. What he's saying is true. This is, man, it's so tricky. It's such a tough situation. It's such a tough situation because although these, and I mean, again, I can talk about academia, this environment, which look, university is two words. Literally, it's two words. Unity in diversity. It's
You can't talk about rainbow emoji without grooming and SA.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. But it's these two words sort of compressed, combined, okay? Unity in diversity. That's what it is. Unity in diversity. That's what university is. And the idea on sort of, you have the elements, earth, air, fire, water, and the idea of the university was to find the thing that united these things together. These disciplines, these disparate, these different elements, these different manifestations, these different phenomena. What combined them? What did they have in common? What was the quintessence? Right? That fifth essence, that's the thing that is actually tying these things together. Are there things that are in common? That's the purpose of the university, is to get a bunch of folks together with different ideas, different opinions. And the purpose for tenure was so that you couldn't, push somebody out just because they had a different view of the nature of reality than you did. Right? So that you'd still have to sort of wrestle with these different ideas. And so, unfortunately, what this has become is basically a very hard leaning in a particular political direction, which tends to drive the support of the certain kinds of faculty members that share that political ideology. And it pushes to the fringe, to the edge, any sort of dissension, any people that are, outliers, people that don't, subscribe to the orthodoxy. Also, what it does is it causes certain people to have a lot of liberty with expressing their ideas and their politics and everything else on campus with no repercussion, no problem at all, where others have to say, "Mum's the word." They can't say anything. You have to keep your mouth shut, because if you don't, there's fear of reprisal. There's fear that people will try to single you out, that they'll try to cancel you. Okay, you're tenured, but they can still make your job hard. Right? They can try to trump up, misinformation against you. They can recruit bias against you. because of stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with anything on campus. So you keep your mouth shut on campus, but what I've experienced in myself is that due to me saying things that on social media, having certain opinions that usually opinions associated with my Christianity, associated with my pro-patriarchal, because I'm a Christian, so the Christian is the sort of most pure expression of the patriarchy, right? I'm a fan of natural order. I comply with natural order. That's my religion preaches that. God over man, man over wife, wife over children. Right? I'm an anti-feminist. I think that feminism is a proxy of white supremacy. I think it's profoundly racist, it's sexist, and it is supremacist in nature. Okay? So it's never been a movement towards equality. But because I have these sorts of positions, and I have good reason to have these positions because I'm a black man in America and I have a son. So, but they don't care. But they don't care about that. They just care if you're expressing a view that is outside of what they want you saying. And it is it's challenging. I've had people, recruit bias against me by having people go, hey, look at what he's saying over here on social media. Oh, he's not supposed to be saying that. He's not allowed. Yeah, I am. I can say anything I want to say on my own platform. I have freedom of speech. I have academic freedom. So even if I was using, even if I was speaking on topics that were not right down the middle per whatever the class that I was teaching, I still have academic freedom, which means I can use whatever information I want to teach whatever it is that I wanted to teach. I am the curriculum. The faculty is the curriculum. So whatever it is that I say should be taught is what gets taught. Now, I'm a music professor. So I only talk about music stuff. We talk about music stuff. Now, look, I'll talk about Black American music. I focus on that. And some of them have an issue with that. But look, man, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you that the environment and because of the nature of certain kinds of folks, you have certain people that'll be more direct with you and other people that'll be passive aggressive. Right? So, the kind of people that shake your hand and say, hey, oh yeah, that's interesting, blah, blah, blah. I think that that, I agree with this idea and blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as you're out of their sight, start working against your interests. Go to your supervisor and complain, report you to, academic affairs, recruit, but go to students and see if you can find students that have an issue with you and then tell them to do the same. All this kind of stuff. I know exactly how these folks work. And in my life, in my academic life, in my art, in the arts, in which both of these communities are very progressive politically. There's a lot of people that are progressive. The white liberal, listen, the white liberal has been the most resistant, the most has done the most to work against my interests, to discover what my interests are, and then to specifically work against them, to attempt to block me based on whatever perspective they think that I have. They don't bother to ask you. You don't actually have conversation. They just demonize you because, oh, that's one of the, oh, he thinks this, or he's one of those. I've had those try to characterize me as a misogynist and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. Totally ridiculous. Not based on any evidence, not based on anything that's reasonable, not based on a conversation, not based on firsthand knowledge. So, yeah, so much for being, scholarly. Somehow that whole scholarly thing and ethics and following sources, and making sure that the stuff that you're saying is actually accurate. So much for any of that. With this kind of thing, hearsay, gossip, speculation, anything like that, it's totally fine to just run with that. What's happening, JF? Totally just fine to just run with that. And so it's created an environment where you're not allowed to actually present substantive, thought out issues with certain agendas. You're not allowed to. I mean, it's suicide. It's suicide. So these organizations have to change. These environments have to change. And yes, it will take some individuals that are not willing to compromise themselves. Are not willing to compromise themselves. Right? It will take that. But anyhow, we need 2 more likes. Hit that like button.
And if the people who trust in the system the most and who has the most education and who have the licenses and certifications are least likely to say something or step up in these types of areas that I've just listed, what does that actually say about us as professionals, except that we are compromised professionals?
Man, I'm telling you, man, it's a lot of compromised professionals. I'm telling you. And the thing is you work all this time to get tenure. You work all this time to get your certifications, your licensing, to build up your clients, your clientele rather, and everything like that. And then it's just like, now you're just trying to survive like everybody else, right? And if these institutions can literally weaponize your opinions against you.
100 emoji, doc. Literally every day, Malcolm X is warning about those devious fox white liberals come back to haunt us. I wish that we had listened sooner.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm a full professor, and I have less concerns about, certain whatever people's views or opinions about me. I mean, I do a good job. I'm very good at what I do, and I'm getting better at what I do. I'm constantly improving, tweaking, making adjustments, and I put really strong folks around me. But I have to be very careful who the people are around me. It took me a while to figure that out, that not everybody was like there for the good reasons. A lot of people are there to try to gather intel, and then basically exploit that, at the best moment for them to promote themselves, and they don't give a crap who they kick under the bus. A lot of folks, that's what they are.
operating in an ideologically compromised field. So, yeah, I think there's room for coaches and counselors or therapists and even psychologists to reevaluate our level of quote unquote freedom when it comes to these types of topics.
Yeah. Good video. And we are now to our main event. Trump's going to pay reparations. Trump to pay really? Okay, let's see what this is really about. Okay, we got Willie D. Let's see what kind of reparations he talking about.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Donald Trump, your president, is handing out reparations checks.
Oh, snap. He handing out reparations checks. Let's see what he talking about.
Yeah, fam. This dude is saying you get a check, you get a check, you get a check, you get a check, you get a check. Yeah, but you are likely not to get a check unless you are a January 6th rioter, as they say, protester, unless you are Trump's friend, you're a family member, you run one of his companies or something like that. And, perhaps you can get a check then. But other than that, you don't get a check.
Wait a minute. So no ninjas? Ninjas don't get checks? Come on, Willie D. Your video says Trump agrees to pay reparations.
Unless you can just go ahead and file and say that you were harmed some way during this January 6th episode. But here's the thing. You do know that this is an open application process. Anybody can file. The problem is they are going to put some type of language in there that says that you are sworn to tell the truth. So if you lie about being part of the insurrection, if you would lie about being there, involved in that some type of way, and they find out, you're going to jail. They will make sure of that. Yeah. So what made me speak on this, besides the fact that I've been, in the loop on this already, is I came across a post from Dr. Boyce Watkins. Shout out to Boyce. And he posed the question, what makes you think that your enemies will look out for you more than your friends? And what he meant by that is Donald Trump intends on giving $1.78 billion to his friends and January 6 rioters and his companies and just people that he rocked with, right? And some people were saying that, he need to give black people reparations. And Boyce was like, well, why would he give black people reparations when black people didn't vote for him? But bigger than that, why do black people expect him to give us reparations when the people who consider themselves our friends, or we consider to be our friends, the Democrats, wouldn't even give us reparations?
Mm-hmm. What's happening, Master Aussie?
Man, I ain't got no problem with that. Yeah, I ain't got no problem with that. That's real, fam. But here's the deal. Just so none of you get too far ahead of yourselves, I am not by any means advocating for Trump or Republicans, because the way I see it, both parties are our enemies. Mm-hmm. One just pretends better. That's it. One pretends better.
I don't disagree. What's happening, Bernard Fields?
They pretend to be our friend. That's it. Every single atrocity that has ever happened in this country, every single bad thing, every problem that we've had as a group in this country has happened on either the Republicans' watch or the Democrats' watch. If the Republicans were in office, the Democrats watched it happen. If the Democrats were in office, the Republicans watched it happen. Everything, man. It's all happened on both of their watch. You know, they've been seesawing.
The way that I've said this is the Republicans and Democrats are jointly culpable for where we are right now. They're jointly culpable, right?
At office for decades. This is what they do. For centuries. They seesaw, right? Oh, first is Republican, then we're tired of Republican, now we're going to go Democrat. Tired of Democrat, now we're going to go Republican. Tired of Republican. So if Trump can get so much done, if he can just do whatever the hell he wants to the point to where we feel helpless and we just throw our hands up, why couldn't some of the Democrat presidents do it? We ain't got to put it.
That is a great point. That's a great point. There's a lot of complaining about, oh, this dude doing all this stuff and it's unconstitutional, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, Biden was doing a bunch of stuff too. It was different stuff, but he was doing a bunch of stuff too. And remember what Obama said? He was going to run the government with the pen and the phone. Right? And all those executive orders and all that. Look, heck, Obama put what is it, Pride Month in via the executive order, right? I'm just saying, he could have done something for black people. I'm just saying, bro.
All on Obama. Why Biden didn't do it? Why Clinton didn't do it? They could have done something. You know, that was a time when we had the House and the Senate. They could have passed legislation. They could have got it done. They could have gotten it done. We could have gotten reparations. You got the House and the Senate.
Yep, that's right. We could have got reparations. But why didn't we? Why didn't we? Even when Democrats was in there, why didn't we? Because they was like, ninjas ain't that important. That's why.
And you had, for a good time, a good chunk of the Supreme Court. Reparations should be passed. It shouldn't have been a problem, right?
Yep.
Wrong. Family.
Right.
It's the government overall. It's the government. They do not rock with us. So we're here.
Look, I agree. I agree.
Here to serve them. That's the way they see it. We're here to serve them. They figure out some type of way that they can use us. They want to use us. And then when they're done using us, they want us to shut up. Kind of like a side chick, you know, kind of like a side chick. They want to use us, get whatever it is that they need from us, what they want from us. And then they want you to suffer in silence. That's the relationship they want to have with black folks.
Nah, see, it's worse than a side chick. Because a side chick is getting something. And getting something consistently, or she wouldn't keep being a side chick.
And then when somebody falls short, when somebody can't make it, when they take a look at the downtrodden, when they evaluate the downtrodden and those who are low income, they say, well, why can't you do it? Why can't you do this and that? The Irish did it, the Italians did it, the Mexicans did it, the Venezuelans, or whoever, they did it. Why can't y'all do it? But they won't tell the whole story. So it's two sides to that coin. You got one side of the coin where you have some people within the group who are not as productive, right? But then you have those who are targeted, who are over-policed, right? Who are discriminated against, who are denied loans, who are denied proper housing, who are denied proper education. This is not happenstance. This is not a coincidence, family. This is by design. This is structural engineering. This is structural social engineering. Yeah. That's what this is. So they try to act like, oh, it's just them. No, it's the government working against us on a daily basis. All of these major atrocities that has a huge effect on stopping us in our tracks when we're making progress, from slavery to Tuskegee, to the Red Line, and to gerrymandering, to the school to pipeline, school to prison pipeline, the crack cocaine, the mass incarceration, even how they target our businesses, for failure. They'll target your businesses by denying you a license or being too slow to give you some type of permit. If you open a restaurant or a club or something, they just go in and try to write you a bunch of citations. They become a nuisance and they get under your skin so much and they start costing you money, costing you customers, so much so that you just give up and say, you know what, man, and you just go do something else. There's millions of stories out there like that. See, these other groups, they ain't dealing with that type of thing, right? So they don't put those.
What's happening, Mr. O?
Those factors, they don't factor in, those type of situations, right? But I know them, fam. I know them. I study them. I know how they rock. So the thing that bothers them more than anything is that no matter what they do, they cannot stop our resilience. Our resilience is unmatched. Yeah, man. Our resilience, our grind, our hustle, our determination is unmatched. And yeah, they get a few of us. A few of us fall victims, a few of us get caught up in the traps. Yeah, they set the traps and some of us, we walk right into those traps. We know those traps exist and we walk right into them anyway. But look at how many more of us over the years who have circumvented those traps. Ooh, that's what they can't stand. So they know if we're doing it on that type of level, they cannot compete. This is why they cheat and they move the goalposts, because they cannot compete. They cannot go mano-a-mano. They cannot go head up. No, man, people are way too sharp. They're way too resilient, way too skilled. Yeah. The best way to stop a person from progressing is to make sure they don't have an opportunity to, or at least limit their opportunities to. Reparations will happen. They ain't gonna happen in this administration, but reparations is coming. I can promise you that. People talk about reparations ain't gonna never happen. Do you know how?
He says he'll promise us that. No, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think it is owed and it is the right thing to do, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do it.
You know how hard it was for America to end slavery? All of the people that was benefited from slavery, not just, we think of people who benefit from slavery, we tend to just think about slave owners. We tend to just think about regular old white slave owners, right? Regular old white colonizer. No, man, this came from the top. You had congressmen and women who owned slaves. Congressmen and women. That's why slavery was enacted in the first place. It was your founding fathers. Yeah, those uncivilized mutts. So slavery's always been a thing because it starts at the top. So they didn't allow it to happen. They manufactured it. They created it. Yeah, they implemented the program and enforced it with laws. Yeah. So some of y'all be thinking, oh man, it's the South. Nah, man, you northern, western, eastern states, they all participated and they all ate off slavery. Every last one of them ate off slavery. Some of your biggest institutions, universities, ate off slavery. Yeah. Banks, some of your biggest banks owned slaves also. Yeah. They insured slaves. This is the same way you would insure a car, a boat, a house. They insured slaves. This is the history they want to whitewash. And it would be one thing if slavery happened a long time ago and it truly ended in 1865. If it truly had ended and it was over and America had just been progressing racially ever since, it was just going forward, not looking back. We recognize the past, but we're a better nation now and we're going forward. And anybody that's trying to take us back, we're going to treat as an abomination. We are not going to respect nothing about it. But no, that ain't what we do. In this country, racism is rewarded. In this country, uncivilized mutts get a GoFundMe of $250,000, $1 million, $600,000, $800,000. In this country, a nothing ass uncivilized mutt can come up off racism. Racism gets rewarded. Yeah. So it's still going on. It's still happening. That's why the cries are so loud for reparations. And reparations is coming. I'm telling you, it may not happen in our lifetime. Think about even having a black president. I know, we can talk about what he did and what he didn't do or whatever, but we never thought, I never thought about a black president in my lifetime.
Well, unfortunately, he's not black. Barack Obama, when you say black, what you mean is Negro, right? That's where black comes from, is Negro. And Negro is freedmen, right? It's a classification describing American descendants of slavery, foundational black Americans, right? That's what that is. But that's not what Obama was. His mother's white, right? A white mother and a foreign national, his father, not a citizen of the United States. I'm just saying it's not, and not part of that lineage. So black with respect to pigment, but not with respect to the political classification.
He was symbolic and all, yeah, you got you, but it happened. Never thought it would happen. But ending slavery, I would argue that was way more harder to do than stroking a check for reparations. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right. It was a little clickbaity, but I do think he had some good things to say. I highly doubt that reparations is ever coming, but thanks for being here in the place to be, and make sure you come back tomorrow for another riveting episode of Rolling Thunder. Peace.